What's up, guys? Today we will be talking about the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus here in 2024. This is an awesome device to revisit, for this late 2024 as we come to the end of this year. And going even into 2025, I still really like this device. Are there other, better devices you can pick up? They use the refurbished marketplace for really cheap nowadays. Yes, of course, but I really like to come back to this device to just kind of reminisce here. And we can start off with the actual hardware of this device. This was a very interesting look for this device. I think just in general, not just for the time, just in general. It has this aura glow color, and you can see it is very mesmerizing when it hits the light. Gives you all these cool little, colorful kind of rainbow effect. And it's just really interesting to look at. I think the design on here still looks really good. Nothing about this phone feels outdated. You can see the camera is pretty small compared to today's standards as well. And overall, just a really beautiful design. Hardware-wise, it's just a really nice phone to look at. You do have your S Pen here, which is blue. Really like the blue pen one here. And yeah, this phone has SD card support as well. And so it's just a kind of timeless phone. It is a boxy phone, of course, but it's not too uncomfortable to hold. It's not too sharp on the edges. But yeah, absolutely love the design on here. Samsung has been so good at displays that this phone's display looks really just as good as any other display. Even when we talk about the S23 and S24 displays, it's a 6.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It has HDR10 plus. It does have a curve, which a lot of people don't like. A lot of people dislike the curve so much, Samsung actually got rid of it completely with the S24 Ultra here. But I think it still gives the phone a very kind of luxury premium look to it. I think the S23 Ultra, I think that's the perfect amount of curve on a phone, and you still get that really premium look. But yeah, a lot of people do not like the curve look. Now, this phone, it does have those classic Samsung colors, which you don't really have anymore on the S24 Ultra. Unfortunately, they tried to bring it back with the vividness slider. It just doesn't have the same look as the old panels. That's one thing that I noticed. It is 1440p, 498 for the PPI. And overall, just a beautiful display to look at. I guess the only thing you could say that has aged about this display is probably no high refresh rate, 60 hertz. You do kind of feel it a little bit. Me personally, it's not that big of a deal, like the 60 hertz thing, because the 60 hertz on this phone is smooth. It's not like it's a slow, feeling phone when it comes to the touch. But yeah, that's the one thing I noticed coming back to this phone is the 60 hertz, the animations and everything. Still smooth, but you kind of, again, notice it with scrolling, stuff like that. But display-wise, I mean, it's a beautiful panel, guys. What can you say? It is very nice to look at still. Let's talk about performance here. This phone does have the Snapdragon 855. You can still play PUBG at HDR Extreme, so you can still play at 60 frames. You can still play a lot of games on this phone pretty well. So you don't really have a performance problem with this phone. The Snapdragon 855 doesn't really heat up as well too. And I think what was really nice about this device was the base model actually launched with 256 gigs of internal storage. So you had SD card support, and you had the base model with 256 and 12 gigs of RAM, which I thought was just really good. This is how 256 should be standard for all flagships. I've been saying that for a while. So they should never sell any phone. I don't care if it's like you cut the price. It doesn't make sense to have 128 gigs of RAM. The storage. But yeah, absolutely fantastic, guys, when it comes to performance here. You can still play games. You see Call of Duty is running pretty well on here. So yeah, this phone got its last major update with Android 12, I believe. And it was getting security patches, and then of course it's not getting anything now. The phone has pretty much ran its course software-wise. Now, as far as like people, with questions about does it still support apps? Guys, these older flagships will support apps for a long time. It's just not getting security updates, but you can pretty much install anything. You can update your apps. I think a lot of people, when they hear no software support, they think that the phone completely stops working or something like that. But like I said, I got a Note 9 that still can pretty much open and update any apps. Even an S8, Note 8 pretty much in the same board. Also, software-wise, you still pretty much have the same stuff. One UI has now just done a kind of like a little visual overhaul, but essentially everything is still here besides the AI stuff. And if you are going to keep your Note and you're thinking about the AI stuff, like I said, honestly, I would just download ChatGPT. You could just download ChatGPT. You would legit get majority of the AI stuff, the assistant, all the other stuff. And yeah, I would just get this and you will have the AI stuff. Check out these speakers on the Note 10 Plus at max volume. So the speakers are actually pretty good on here, actually a lot better than I was thinking now that I'm coming back to this phone. Pretty loud, pretty decent bass as well too, and overall just a really clean sound. So very good sound, these speakers on here. The fingerprint scanner is an ultrasonic, it works really well. And yeah, just hardware wise and feature wise, like I said, you're not really missing out on a whole bunch, you know, with this phone. Now, as always with old flagships, yeah, you will start to notice, you know, the camera's looking a little bit older, but I would say if you're in good, you know, lighting conditions, you'll be surprised that the Note 10 Plus actually does a fantastic job. It's only when you pull this phone out of any type of good lighting do you really start to see its age with the low light photography. And it's not even just low light photography, it's really just you take it out of any type of good lighting, the images will get a little bit softer. And that's like the only issue I really see with this phone's camera. Yeah, the video, you know, could be better, of course. That's an area where Samsung has improved a lot in. But besides that, I mean, if we're just talking about general stills, I mean, you can just look at the photos. It still looks pretty good. I think anyone would be happy with the photo quality here. So let me know what you guys actually think. But yeah, you have a 12 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel telephoto. You have a 16 megapixel ultra wide, and you have a 0.3 depth sensor. It does shoot in 4K 60 with a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. I even took this on a trip with me. I did like a real world vlog, and this phone did phenomenal as far as taking pictures and video and stuff like that. You guys can see, you know, the images for yourself here. So I think these old flagships, they do a great job at taking photos. But again, yeah, you will, you know, suffer a little bit when it comes to, you know, low light photography for sure. But yeah, overall solid phone. You do have that 10 times max zoom on here. The telephoto is 2 times optical as well too. So yeah, I think overall the cameras are pretty good. Now let's talk about the battery life. So this phone actually did a pretty good job with battery life. Like I said, when I took it on my trip earlier this year, as a lighter user, if you're not like playing games, you know, heavy like that, this phone easily lasted me a day. You can pretty much, you know, squeeze, I wouldn't say 6 hours of screen at one time, but I would say somewhere around like that 5 hour, maybe 5 hours and 30 minutes. It just depends, but this phone did a very good job. It lasted way longer than I thought. But again, I'm a lighter user, so if you're somebody who is playing games, maybe you're doing a lot of GPS, then yeah, you'll start to notice, you know, this phone's battery life is just kind of okay. Even when this phone was new, it wasn't, the battery life wasn't, you know, crazy. But yeah, overall, it's a solid device. So it's got the 4,300 milliamp hour battery. You got your 45 watt charging, and you also have your wireless and reverse wireless charging on here as well. So overall, I really like the Note 10 Plus just in general. Just a very good, very well made device from Samsung. And if you notice that after this phone, all of the Samsung phones kind of look pretty similar for the most part here, as far as the display, as far as the overall body of the phone. And then if you really like look at the back of the phone, it's just this camera, you know, bigger now and without the ring. So I really like the Note 10 Plus. What do you guys think?